There's something deeply unsettling about a lockdown. The sirens, the alerts, the sound of every door clicking shut, one by one, like a house sealing itself from something outside. You lock the doors, turn off the lights, and you wait for the danger to pass, for the chaos to stay out there. Because that's what we're told, right? That lockdowns protect us. That if we just stay quiet, stay hidden, and follow the rules, everything will be fine. But sometimes, the threat isn't clawing at the front door. Sometimes it doesn't need to break in, because it's already inside, watching, listening, waiting for the moment everyone else lets their guard down. This isn't about horror movies. This isn't fiction. These are real stories of schools, of homes, of ordinary places that should have been safe, but weren't. These are three chilling, true accounts of lockdowns that started just a few minutes too late. And by the time anyone realized what was happening, the damage had already begun. Stay quiet. Don't move. And whatever you do, don't open the door. Low ambient hum begins. Echo of distant footsteps. Muffled radio chatter. Faint door clicking shut. Title appears. Lockdowns that started too late. Test tube story 1. The man in the chamber. Approximate. 1,400 words tone. Uneasy, immersive, escalating dread. I went to a pretty average high school. You know, the kind with peeling linoleum tiles and old vending machines that never worked. But our school had one part that was not average, not by a long shot. They called it the chambered IT, was this basement wing tucked beneath the gym. 2 classrooms, a locked storage closet, a weird janitor's sink, and one flickering bathroom with no working fan and a door that always stuck. The walls were concrete. The ceilings were low, and there were no intercom speakers down there. Just a tiny red light over the emergency phone. That's it. No PA system. No announcements. No bells. You had to rely on the teachers for everything. And most of them were so used to being ignored by the rest of the building that they didn't really care. I had chemistry down there with Mr. K. My best friend JJ had computer science in the next room over. Most days, one of us would sneak over before class or during a break, sometimes even during tests, just to screw around. We called it chamber hopping, and that's exactly what we were doing when the lockdown started. IT was a Thursday. I remember that because we had a quiz in chem, and I hadn't studied. JJ met me in the hallway outside the classroom a few minutes in. He gave me this exaggerated cough signal we always used, and I slipped out while Mr. K had his back turned. We snuck into the bathroom at the end of the hall. It smelled like bleach and rust. JJ pulled out his phone and started showing me this ridiculous video. Some guy getting scared by a goose and falling into a pond. We were laughing, like way too loudly. And then we heard it. A muffled ding, like a tone coming from a speaker. It was faint, far away, but distinct. We froze, looked at each other. Intercom. JJ whispered and I nodded. I think so, but we can't hear anything from down here. Then came a second tone. Then the third. 3 chimes. That was the signal. Every drill, every protocol, that meant one thing. Lockdown. We looked at each other wide-eyed. But instead of panicking, we laughed. JJ shrugged. Probably another drill. They always do this crap. And he wasn't wrong. Our school loved surprise drills. We'd had 3 that semester already. One time during lunch. Another during finals. They treated it like a game. So we decided to make it one. Let's see if the cafeteria is locked, JJ said. Loser buys snacks if it's open, I joked. So we went upstairs. The moment we opened the stairwell door, we knew something was wrong. The lights were off. Not just dim off. The hallway stretched out ahead, silent and dark. It didn't feel like a drill. It felt abandoned. We walked slower, joked less. Our footsteps echoed. And then, from the left hallway, we saw him. A man. Not a teacher. Not a janitor. He was tall, maybe 6 feet 3 inches, wearing a hooded jacket that looked soaked around the hem. Dirty jeans. Something was wrong with the way he walked, like he was limping or dragging one foot slightly behind. He stopped when he saw us that we stopped too. Who is that? I whispered. JJ didn't answer. His hand clutched my arm. The man took a step toward us. Then another. We turned and ran. We tore back down the stairwell. Back into the chamber. Past the classrooms. Straight into the bathroom. JJ locked the door behind us. No lights, no windows, just stale air and darkness. We ducked into one of the stalls and stood on the toilet seat. I could hear my own heartbeat. JJ's breath was shallow and fast. Then footsteps, slow, echoing. We tore back down the stairwell, back into the chamber, past the classrooms, straight into the bathroom. JJ locked the door behind us. No lights, no windows, just stale air and darkness. We ducked into one of the stalls and stood on the toilet seat. I could hear my own heartbeat. JJ's breath was shallow and fast. Then footsteps, slow, echoing. The sound of the bathroom door creaking open and closing. Someone was inside. The breathing was heavier now. It wasn't ours. Then a pause. The stall next to us groaned as someone leaned against it, pressed into it. The walls shook slightly. Then a low sniff. My hand clamped over my mouth. I could feel JJ trembling next to me. And then the whisper. "I think he left," JJ breathed. Barely audible, but loud enough. Because the next moment, our stall door shook violently. Once, twice, a third time, loud enough to make me lose balance. He started slamming into it, over and over. A fist, a shoulder. I couldn't tell. The door rattled and groaned. The lock held, but barely. Then silence. Heavy breathing faded. Footsteps shuffled out, and the bathroom door creaked shut again. We didn't move for a full minute, maybe longer. Then JJ grabbed my arm and whispered, "My class. Let's go." We cracked the door open, peeked out. The hallway was empty. We ran. JJ's classroom door was locked. He banged twice in the code, knock they all practiced. Mr. D opened it just wide enough to pull us in. As the door closed behind us, I turned and saw him. The man. He was at the far end of the hallway, turning the corner, fast. Mr. D slammed the door and locked it. He turned to us, pale. "What the hell are you two doing out there?" "There was a guy. He followed us," JJ stammered. "I saw," Mr. D said low. "He's got a gun in his back pocket." Everyone in the class went dead silent. No one moved. Lockdown lasted another hour and 15 minutes. Afterwards, the cops came, asked questions, took statements, checked the doors, the cameras, except there weren't any in the basement. None in the chamber. None in the stairwell. They never caught him. They never even figured out how he got in. There was no broken entry, no missing keys, and he wasn't on any of the security footage from upstairs. They did install cameras down in the basement after that, and the intercom was finally connected to the chamber. But no news story ran. No alerts went out to parents. It was like it never happened, except we were there. And sometimes, late at night, I think about the moment he pressed on that stall door, and what would have happened if that lock had failed, or if JJ hadn't whispered too soon, or if we'd stayed in the hallway 1 second longer. People always say lockdowns are for safety, but in the chamber, safety came too late. Sound, slow, echoing footsteps fade. Door creaks shut. Faint breathing lingers, then cuts abruptly. Police Garlight Story 2, The Boy in the Locker. Approximate. 1,400 words tone. Quiet dread. Emotionally restrained. Authoritative but haunted. My name's Tom Keller. Retired officer, 23 years on the force. In that time, I've responded to everything. Car wrecks, domestic calls, overdoses, the worst humanity has to offer. But there's one call, just one, that still keeps me up. It's been over a decade, and I still have dreams about it. They usually end the same way. Me, standing in a dark hallway, rows of lockers on either side, and I opened the wrong one. It was a Thursday, late afternoon, rain coming down hard enough to blur the radio static. I was doing paperwork at the precinct when the call came in. Possible intruder. White male. Enter middle school near the back lot. Might be armed. I didn't waste time. I knew that school. My daughter went there a few years back. Quiet neighborhood, one way in and out. I pulled up maybe 7 minutes after dispatch. Rain still slamming down. There was a van, white, beat up, no plates on the front, parked near the gym entrance. That stuck with me. I should have called in the plate on the rear right away. But I didn't. I was focused on getting inside. Door near the locker rooms was ajar. Not all the way open, but not secure either. I announced myself. No answer. Hand on my weapon, flashlight in the other, I stepped inside. The power was out. Storm had knocked it. Only the emergency lights were flickering in patches, and the rest of the place was pitch black. Just me, the echo of my boots, and the sound of the rain. It felt wrong. Schools aren't supposed to feel like that. Not empty like that. I swept through the hall by the gym, checked the supply closet, storage room. Nothing. But as I turned the corner toward the locker rooms, I heard it. A faint, rhythmic tapping. Talp, talp, talp. Like someone pressing lightly on metal. Then a thud. I held my breath. Radioed it in. Possible movement in boys' locker room. Investigating. No response. Static only. I took one step closer. Then another. Opened the locker room door slow. The smell hit first. Old sweat, mildew, wet concrete. I swept my flashlight across the benches, the lockers, the shower tiles in the back. Nothing. Then the noise again. Behind me now. Talp. Thud. Talp. I turned, flashlight cutting the dark like a blade. Nothing there. Just rows and rows of lockers. I called out. This is Officer Keller. If you're in here, make yourself known. Silence. And then, a voice. Muffled. Gasping. Help, please. It took a second to locate where it was coming from. I stepped forward slowly, ears straining. Where are you? A soft banging answered. One of the lockers. My flashlight caught a glint through the vent slats. Eyes. Wide. Terrified. A boy, maybe 11 or 12, crammed inside, knees to chest. His mouth was duct-taped, but the tears down his cheeks said everything. I pulled the door. Locked. Grabbed my multi-tool and jammed it into the latch. It took a few tries. The whole time he was whimpering, shaking. I kept whispering, "It's okay, I got you. You're safe now." The lock snapped. He fell into my arms. The second I got the tape off, he screamed. He's still here? He has a knife. I didn't wait. I radioed backup, carried the kid out into the hall, heart pounding. But the school was still empty, still silent. I got him out the back. That same storm still hammering down. And then I looked. The van was gone. Not just moved. Gone. No tire marks. No sign of which way he'd gone. I cursed myself right there. I hadn't taken the plate number. One mistake. 1 second too late. Paramedics took the boy. He had a shallow cut along his upper arm. Looked like he'd try to pull away. He told us everything. The man had grabbed him in the hallway after gym. Knife to his back. Whispered threats. Told him to keep quiet or he'd die. He was forced into the locker. Door slammed. Left in the dark. He thought he'd be killed. He only screamed because he heard footsteps and figured, if he didn't take the chance then, he might not get another. They caught the guy a week later. He was trying to follow a girl into a 7-Eleven in another city. Clerk thought he looked off, called it in. When they opened the back of his new van, they found rope, duct tape, a bag of knives. He'd changed the plates, worn a different jacket. But it was him. Same eyes, same limp, same look in the mugshot as the one I saw in the dark. The kid ID'd him. No hesitation. That was my 14th year on the job. But it was the first time I truly understood how close too late really is. He could have been one locker over. Could have missed the voice. Could have opened the wrong door and walked right past. I've replayed that moment more times than I can count. What if I hesitated longer? What if I hadn't heard the tap? The nightmares come like that. I'm back in a dark hallway. Walking. Sweeping. Listening. Locker after locker. Opening the wrong one. And the sound of the boy's voice. Muffled. Getting quieter. Fading. Until it's gone. Sound. Rain against windows. Static bursts on a radio. Metal locker creaks open. Child's voice, barely audible. Help, please, followed by sharp inhale. Story 3. There was someone in my hotel room. Approximate. 1,400 words tone. Quiet dread, rising panic, cold realization. I was 17. It was spring break of my senior year, and I'd flown out to visit a college a few states away. One I'd just gotten accepted to. No parents. Just me. 2 days, 1 hotel room, and a rental car. It was supposed to be a taste of adulthood. Independence. My parents booked me a room at a Hampton Inn close to campus. Not fancy, but clean. I got back from the campus tour around 8 p.m. Tired, hungry, and kind of excited. It felt weird being alone like that, checking into a hotel room, flopping onto the bed, ordering DoorDash. I even texted my friend, dude, this is what life's going to be like next year. No rules. I watched some Netflix, ate on the bed, then started getting ready for bed. And that's when the alarm started. It wasn't a blaring sound or fire alarm. It was a pulsing white strobe light above the hotel room door, maybe once every 3 seconds. Then the TV turned blue and displayed a message. Security lockdown. Please remain in your room. Await further instructions. No sound. No instructions. Just the flashing. At first, I thought it was a glitch, but it kept going. I tried Googling, nothing. Tried the hotel's front desk number, busy. Still, I wasn't scared, just confused. It's a hotel. There's cameras, locks, other guests. I brushed my teeth. Text Snapchat. Laid in bed, tried to convince myself it was probably nothing. I even muted the TV, the message still flashing. The alarm light still blinking over the door. And then the room phone rang. It was one of those beige landlines every hotel has, sitting right by the lamp. I picked it up, expecting a recording, but it was a woman. Her voice was low, calm, but serious. Hi, this is the front desk. I need you to walk to the door right now. I blinked. Is everything okay? She didn't answer that. Just repeated, please walk to the door. Right now. Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. I stood up slowly, phone still to my ear. She continued, barely above a whisper. Check the peephole. Don't open the door. Just check. I looked. Nobody there. Okay, I said. No one's. And that's when she said it. There's someone in your room. I swear to God, time stopped. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. What? I asked. My voice cracked. The phone line went dead. I just stood there. My body locked up. Then I started checking. Bathroom, empty. Under the bed, empty. Nothing behind the curtains. Nothing in the tub. I left one place. The closet. The sliding wooden door was open just a crack. Maybe 2 inches. I stepped forward slowly. I don't even know why. Maybe to prove to myself it was nothing. But as I got closer, I saw it. Through that thin crack, barely lit by the bathroom light behind me. A face. Not moving. Just watching. Eyes wide open. And the door suddenly slid shut. I didn't scream. I didn't think. I ran. Flung open the hotel room door, barefoot, heart slamming. I ran full speed down the hallway to the elevator. Didn't wait. Just pounded on the down button until the door opened. The front desk clerk was already standing when I arrived. A young woman, maybe mid-20s. She didn't look surprised. Just asked, room 412. I nodded. Couldn't even speak. She guided me behind the desk, locked the office door behind us, and pulled up the security feed. Footage showed a man, late 30s or 40s, walking calmly down the hallway around 6:45 p.m. He had a hotel key card. Used it. Walked in. Didn't leave. He was inside the room the entire time I was out. When I came in at 8, he didn't move. Didn't make a sound. He was in that closet for hours. Watching. Waiting. Police arrived about 10 minutes later. They went up with staff, quietly. I watched on the security screen as they opened the door. 2 officers with guns drawn. I couldn't hear what was said, but a minute later, they walked the man out in cuffs. He didn't say a word, but as they passed the front desk, he looked at me, and he smiled, like he knew me, like he'd been waiting. Turns out, the man wasn't a guest. He had a stolen master key card. No idea how he got it. They think he'd been targeting hotels for a while. He didn't take anything, didn't leave a mess. He just hid in rooms with single guests. Waited, sometimes left, sometimes didn't. I changed flights, didn't visit the campus again. I don't even tell this story often because it sounds like an urban legend. But I lived it, and here's what I keep thinking. He might have watched me eat, watched me sleep, listen while I brush my teeth. What if I hadn't gotten that phone call? What if I had opened the closet? What if I never noticed he was there? I still have dreams where I'm brushing my teeth. And behind me, in the mirror, I see the closet sliding open. Sound cues, distant hotel hallway ambience. Faint beeping alarm loop. Muffled phone ringing. Whispered line, there's someone in your room. Then, silence, heartbeat builds. Schuft sliding door. Sudden slam. Cut to static. End arrow outro word count. 340. Lockdowns are meant to be safe. They're designed to seal the world off. To keep the threat outside, But none of that matters when the danger is already inside. These weren't stories about chaos or gunfire or news headlines. They were about something quieter, more intimate, more invasive. Because the most terrifying thing isn't what's pounding at the door. It's what's already behind it. Sometimes the face isn't masked. Sometimes the weapon is patience. Sometimes evil just waits, right where you left it. The student who laughed threw a false alarm until he saw the man's face behind the stall. The officer who opened the wrong locker and heard a child begging from inside. The teen in a hotel room who thought he was alone until the closet door began to slide. None of them saw it coming. None of them could. Because real horror doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always crash through windows or break down doors. Sometimes, a weird janitor's sink in one flickering bathroom with no working fan and a door that always stuck. The walls were concrete. The ceilings were low. And there were no intercom speakers down there. Just a tiny red light over the emergency phone. That's it. No PA system. No announcements. No bells. You had to rely on the teachers for everything. And most of them were so used to being ignored by the rest of the building that they didn't really care. I had chemistry down there with Mr. K. My best friend JJ had computer science in the next room over. Most days, one of us would sneak over before class or during a break, sometimes even during tests, just to screw around. We called it chamber hopping. And that's exactly what we were doing when the lockdown started. It was a Thursday. I remember that because we had a quiz in chem, and I hadn't studied. JJ met me in the hallway outside the classroom a few minutes in. He gave me this exaggerated cough signal we always used, and I slipped out while Mr. K had his back turned. We snuck into the bathroom at the end of the hall. It smelled like bleach and rust. JJ pulled out his phone and started showing me this ridiculous video. Some guy getting scared by a goose and falling into a pond. We were laughing, like way too loudly. And then we heard it. A muffled ding, like a tone coming from a speaker. It was faint, far away, but distinct. We froze, looked at each other. Intercom. JJ whispered and I nodded. I think so. But we can't hear anything from down here. Then came a second tone. Then the third. 3 chimes. That was the signal. Every drill, every protocol, that meant one thing. Lockdown. We looked at each other wide-eyed. But instead of panicking, we laughed.